Monster. So my name is Dagmar Fehlau, and I was a children's book illustrator or a children's illustrator for 10 plus years. So I did educational, but I also did books, magazines, and I ended up doing AT box too for Celestial Seasonings. I was working for Sesame Street magazine, which no longer exists, I'm sure. I did a lot of the Muppets, and once they realized I could do Muppets, I got hired to do a couple books for Sesame Street with Ernie and Bert. I worked for Ladybug, Babybug magazine, which were big in the 90s, early 2000s. I did a little book that was a counting book with little ants. And I was working in gouache on paper, and I worked really hard on coming up with this layered, textured style that was not easy to do with gouache because gouache is water soluble, and I was able to layer with these sponges to make it very multi-dimensional. This one is good. I'll be alone a sec. So born in Germany, in northern Germany, and I guess my dad was always very interested in art and art history and architectural history and history. And my brother and I, when we were young, ended up drawing all of our imaginary things, like things that we make up as kids. We made up this whole island with all of our stuffed animals and with characters and houses, and we drew and painted all of it. And so my brother and I really were already at a young age very much into being creative. I have this big memory of my dad, who we were sitting in our kitchen at the table, and we had the nice 70s plastic yellow tablecloth, and my dad brought in an empty frame, put it on the tablecloth, and a bunch of art supplies, and he made this whole drawing and artwork on the tablecloth and put the frame on it. And it just felt like such a statement of saying, go crazy, we don't care if you draw on the walls, if you draw on the table. So I worked as an illustrator for 10 years, and I was very successful. I had young children at the same time. I was very, very busy, and it was going really, really well. And we decided to move to Colorado, at my 10-year anniversary probably of being an illustrator. And once we got here, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, which was a huge surprise, being so young, at 36 years old with 3 young children. It kind of put a damper on my illustration career, because having to be creative, meeting deadlines was all hard enough as it was. While I really enjoyed it and it was very rewarding, it was also, a struggle at times. And so when that happened and I had to go through a lot of treatments, I stopped doing illustration work for a while. I ended up doing a vaccine trial to travel because I was pretty desperate. I wanted to live, and it was a very impactful diagnosis and treatment. I was approached by Celestial Seasoning because they knew I was in a young breast cancer survivor support group, and they hired me and another local artist to do the cover for the breast cancer awareness tea box. I did that one, and it was I think my first real job back after all the treatment, and it was pretty hard for me. And I just fell upon this whole dog world where I realized that I love working with dogs, and I ended up getting a job as a dog hiker, which I've now been doing for 10 years. And I just could not imagine sitting at a desk anymore and paint for a living. And that's why I stopped. So for the last 10 years, I've been basically satisfying my need for my artistic outlet, taking beautiful photos of dogs running around in nature, and that has made me happy enough. So I don't know if I'm ever interested in going back into illustration, but I know that I will go back to painting again and drawing. My gouache, my watercolors, everything that I used to do, it's going to be there for me, and I'm going to get back into it and maybe show again and sell original artwork, because at this point I don't have to, because I'm earning money or I have a different job. It would be more the enjoyment of art versus art as a job, which when you do earn your living with your hobby or your art, it can be tough at times to not get tired of it or for you to burn out. So I am looking forward to taking my love for art again, to just do it because I really love it and not because I have to earn money with it. So that's what I'm looking at for the future for me with my artwork and my love for art. You will cut out all this other shit.
Totally. Yeah.
Like, I'm a monster.
Sure.
Okay.